Welcome to Marina Diaries, a podcast by Aqueduct Marina.
Let's rock.
So hello and welcome to hello.
Hello.
Very Carry On films that was.
Yeah.
So hello and welcome to episode 3 of Marina Diaries podcast. I'm Phil and you're
Rich.
You said that so suddenly.
It's because it's
It
true.
almost took me by surprise. Just a bit of a reminder of the journey so far. On episode 1, we talked about buying a boat and the expenses around owning a narrowboat. And then on episode 2, we talked all about moorings. And in episode 3, we're going to talk about what, Rich?
We're going to talk about general sort of maintenance and things like that to do with hull blackings and sort of engineering, things like that. And also have a bit of a rundown of what's been going on at the marina this week.
And with this new filming angle as well, people can actually see that we've got notes. You wouldn't believe that we are that professional, but
pages of notes.
But there is notes. We can't read them, but
no.
So we're going to try and follow these throughout the episode. So we'll get into what's been happening at the marina this week.
Yeah, we had a really good weekend last weekend with the brokerage event. We had 20 sets of invited guests on Saturday and the same again on Sunday, looking at all the boats we've got for sale. A few deals were done on used and new, which is nice. And it had a really kind of early season nice feel about it. You know, there was plenty of energy.
It's nice to see a lot of people down at the marina as well this time of year.
Yeah, and they were all brand new guests of ours. So from the guests coming in to look at the boats, we had the hospitality team as well looking after the cafe. And it worked really, really well. And it was also about, there's obviously, you know, the brokerage event has in boat sales, but we also invited potential vendors to come down and see how we do it. And they really liked it. So there's quite a few boats either coming in now, being skippered by the current owners, the last kind of journey, or our boat moving team are bringing them in.
Yeah, no, it's great to see so many people down at the marina in this time of year. Normally it's about Easter onwards we see more people, but it was definitely busy over the weekend, and credit to you and the team for welcoming them all in. I was at home.
Was that a thank you to me?
There was a thank you. Don't let it go to your head. I think mostly it's gone. I think the rest of the team probably did most of the work.
They did everything, to be fair. They were great. Great team, honestly, great team. All, right the way across the board, from the team that prepped the sort of sales area.
I mean, you have to say this because they might watch.
Yeah, they're on the crediting list there. So the team that prepped the sales area, to the boat builders that were on site as well. Knights were here.
Yeah, that was nice.
Their own boat. We've got Gaz in the brokerage department. All the girls in hospitality. It was really well put together, and we'll do quite a few of those events over the coming year.
Yeah, because I think sometimes people don't know whether they need to book an appointment to come and look at boats and stuff like that. And those kind of events are quite nice to welcome a few more people, and they can ask whatever questions they want about buying a narrowboat, and also get to look at some fantastic new boats. Also at the moment, we're sort of very much planning for the year ahead, aren't we? This time of year, a lot of people think we might be a bit quieter because it's not as many boats out cruising. But actually, this is the time of year where we're putting a lot of plans in place for the summer period coming up.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we've got the boats, which is the sort of main attraction. But we've also
other than you.
More you, really. We know you've got fan mail.
You have fan mail. Let's not talk about fan mail.
Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, we've got two dog walks going in. So one's going to be slightly shorter than the other one. So if you've got a dog with short legs, you go on the short one.
Yeah.
And if you've got a dog with long legs,
you've got a Great Dane going the long one.
Yeah. And so they're getting in because there's about 100 acres.
Yeah, so it's about a 100-acre site in total. A lot of people just see the marina, but the land around it is owned by the same family. So hopefully we're going to put some routes in that people can go and explore that a bit more. And I've worked here 16 years, and there's bits that when we were planning that route that I've never been to, which is amazing, really. It's a lovely bit down by the river. So it's going to be great to open that up to more people and welcome more people on site. And if the dog gets dirty during the walk, there's even a dog bath now as well.
There's a dog bath with the water runs just so.
You tried it out personally.
It's lovely and warm, honestly. Yeah, it's great.
Did you get in?
Only my feet.
Only your feet. I did see some head and shoulders on the
that's
on the
me.
side.
Yeah, it works, you know. yeah. But so we've got all that, and obviously as the site sort of expands a bit, we've obviously got the glamping, camping, the touring pitch as well. So the Marina Retreats, as it's named, which
check out our new website.
Check out our new website. That hosts all the sort of accommodation that we offer, and there's going to be a program. Hannah, one of our great marketing girls, is looking at.
Again, have to say that.
Have to say that.
She definitely will watch it.
Didn't mention her before, you see.
Oh.
And she's looking at getting a lot of musicians and artists to come in on Saturday afternoons throughout the summer.
Yeah, hopefully we'll have a lot more events this year.
Yeah.
Not only just for the boating public, but for the general public as well, which is going to be quite nice. So busy time, exciting times ahead. Redevelopment a little bit in the cafe in Chandlery. We'll probably touch on them in future episodes as more stuff's coming to light. Yeah. So, I guess we'll dive into this week's subject, which is canal boat maintenance.
Yeah, and we thought we'd just sort of talk about sort of your typical hull coatings. So you've got your sort of very old and established coating system, which is bitumen.
Yeah. And
then you've got your sort of more modern, completely different price point of blasting and two-packing, which we do both on site and a lot of it.
I remember when I started working here, like I said, 16 years ago, bitumen was like the go-to product. Everyone had bitumen, and you'd be out there in all weather, just putting on this sticky, gloopy, bituminous product. But nowadays, most people are having the two-pack system, and we're seeing more and more people coming back for maintenance coats instead, aren't we? So let's just talk about, so you've got the bitumen products, haven't you?
Yeah.
What's the pros and cons of that type of system?
Yeah, with the standard bitumen, or as we call it, it's pro blacking now. So it's,
bitumen-based products are actually probably being phased out a little bit, aren't they?
Yeah, and like I say, the sort of pro blacking one that we use, it dries and it fully cures. Doesn't really get the sort of rubber feel of bitumen used to get. It was always seemed to be wet,
like almost sticky
stuff.
Yeah.
Where the pro blacking, it dries really hot, like a really almost an armoured finish. And it doesn't seem to suffer with the same sort of UV problem. So you'll see a lot of boats that sort of grey out over sometimes not a long period of time.
No.
Where the pro blacking doesn't seem to do that. It is a good product. The only thing with doing the sort of conventional ways is your boat is out the water definitely every 2 years.
Yeah, because the life expectancy of that type of product, even with the new pro blacking, which is much better than the previous bitumen based products, is still not as much as a two-pack system. So going on to two-pack, it's a lot harder wearing, isn't it? Life expectancy is more, and we use a couple of products, but mainly Hempel, Hempador. Life expectancy on that is 8 to 10 years, compared to a bitumen product, which you might get 18 months to 2 years out of.
Yeah.
So that's obviously the advantage of it, is harder wearing, it's harder. I guess the disadvantage for many people is the initial cost. Yeah,
it's several thousand, not just a rough thousand. But once if you're going to, like we said before, people keep these boats for sort of 10, 15, 20, a lifetime. If you get it done once and spend the money on it right and have it done properly, and have it done like a place like here where everything's measured and recorded, you've got a good chance that only every 4 years you're bringing the boat out really for a maintenance coat, and that depends on your usage. I mean, if you just moor it up and just live on it, you're not really going to scuff it enough. But it's if every 4 years, 5 years you're going to do a maintenance coat, as opposed to every 2 years the standard bitumen. But I mean, a maintenance coat,
the price of that isn't much more than the bitumen, really. It's the grip blasting bit initially that's the expensive bit.
Yeah.
As you then, once you've got the boat grip blasted, the ongoing maintenance is not 20% more than the bitumen.
Yes, about 20%. And also with the way we do blasting here, it's not so much with the typical bitumen. You just paint the sides of the boat as a rule. You sort of prep it, scrape it, and paint the sides. With the blasting, the majority of people that will have a boat blasted and have already made the decision to know we're going to do it and do it right, they'll have the base done as well. So we've got the sides and the base. So we send a lot of footage to people.
Controversial subject: should you blast the base? But we've seen lots of it. We see a lot of places have boats out of the water. They might have half a dozen boats out at any one time. We've got 80 out. We're seeing half a dozen boats go each way each day, haven't we? Coming in and out. So we see a lot of boats.
Yeah.
And we have seen boats that have been two-packed on the base plates and ones that haven't. like some that have been chip-packed on the sides, but not the base. And it does work. It definitely does work. I remember seeing one boat that had been on stock planks where it was originally 2-packed, and they hadn't 2-packed where the stock planks were. And that line was a perfect line of rust, and the rest of the base plate was perfect. Right. So it's always an argument. We've seen loads of evidence that getting the base plate done is worth it, isn't it? Once you've done it, you kind of do and forget with the base plate.
It is for the base plate, yeah. I mean, I guess if you run your canal boat along the bottom of the canal all the time, you're going to scratch it. But
yeah,
as a rule, that doesn't happen. You know, it's down below the waterline. Once it's done, it is done. And like you say, we have pulled boats up, loads of boats out, and you look at the bottom and you think there's no issues with it.
So when we're talking about blacking, it's probably a good time to talk about anodes at the same time, because you get the boat out to be black, so you're going to need the anodes doing.
Yeah.
So for people that don't know, sacrificial anodes, as the name suggests, are a sacrificial weld-on anode, normally made from magnesium or zinc. And the idea of those is that they're like bodyguards for your hull. So they're protecting the hull from any stray currents in the water and things like that, so that they attack that metal rather than your hull metal, and therefore you don't get that corrosion on the hull instead. And quite often you see them around the prop, around the back end of the boat, where there's dissimilar metals, and normally, traditionally, you see 2 at the back and 2 at the front, but they're only effective for about 4 or 5 foot?
4 or 5 feet. So what a lot of our customers generally have done is they'll get side anodes put on as well. So they're like a much slimmer, you know, your front and your back anodes are big 2.8 kilo sort of blocks, where your side anodes are quite slim. So when you're getting in and out of locks, obviously you've got your chine edge on the bottom of your boat. The slim anode sits just slightly inward of that, so there's less risk of it getting melted off. So you get this protection all the way around the sort of the submerged hull.
So keeping your anodes in good order and having a 2-pack system is the ultimate way to protect your hull, which so much of your boat's investment is in that steel work.
Yeah.
One of the other things we were talking about when we did these extensive notes before this, Rich, is is bow thrusters. We're seeing a lot of boats coming out of the water now that have bow thrusters fitted 5, 6, 7, 8, and even 10 years ago, and have surveys, and that's where we can see a few issues, isn't it?
Yeah, because your sort of bow thruster, which is a lovely option to have it from brand new, and I get why people have bow thrusters, but if you think about it, your base plate is say 10 mil or even thicker. Your size is say 8 or 6 mil, and then you go and put a tube straight through your boat, sometimes made out of 4 mil.
Yeah, I think a standard tube for a bow thruster is sort of 4.5, 5 mil.
Yeah,
but you're right, it's not as thick as the metal around it.
Yeah,
so it's already a weaker point.
Yeah,
and then it's difficult to paint, which means people either don't paint it or don't paint it very well.
Yeah,
and then you've got a prop in there which is aerating water, and you've got dissimilar metals if you've got like the gearbox of the bow thruster in there as well. All those things just are a concoction, the perfect storm.
Yeah, it couldn't get any worse for a bit of a boat, could it?
Yeah, so we have seen a few being pitted in that area coming up on surveys. So just something to think about. Shouldn't put you off buying a boat that's got a bow thruster, but make sure when you have the survey done, they've checked the bow thruster tube. And if you've got a bow thruster in your boat, then make sure when it's coming out for blacking, you're giving that area some of the attention it needs.
Yeah, you've got to really properly clean it.
Because some of them they should have removable grates on the end of the bow thruster tube. Some of them haven't, and we've done that for a lot of people, haven't we? Put removable grates on as well. So just whilst you've got the boat out for blacking, check the anodes, replace them if they need replacing, and check those key vulnerable areas around the back of the boat where there's a lot of dissimilar metals, and if it's got a bow thruster tube around that area as well.
Yeah, that's like we said before.
What else are we going to talk about now, Rick? I need the piece of paper.
I think it's engineering.
Is it engineering?
I think
seamless.
This is something you know all about, so I reckon you'd be great at this.
Do you?
Honestly,
so we'll go from that.
I could be one of the people on the side of there and just watch.
So it does bring us on very smoothly to engineering side of the boat, or other regular things that you should look at when looking after your boat or think about. We spoke about a little bit in previous episodes about getting your boat serviced regularly. That is important, isn't it? And looking after that engine room environment.
Yeah, I mean, you've just always got to, when it comes to sort of your engines as well, you know, like we see a lot of beta and Barrashire, you know, that you've got to look after it. You've got to get it serviced properly. Use the proper stuff on it. You know,
quite often it's not more expensive to get the proper parts for an engine as well.
And you know it's the proper part. It feels the proper part.
Yeah.
I mean, you wouldn't. These things are big, expensive things. I mean, if you've got a £100,000 Bentley, you're not going to put a,
which you have,
which I have. But you're not going to put a cheap factor part on it.
No.
You're going to so you've got to go at it with the same mentality, and it's the same old thing really. If you maintain it and sometimes over maintain it, it's not going to give you any problems going forward. Well, it shouldn't do anyway.
It shouldn't. It's going to limit the chances of you breaking down, which is ultimately what you don't want if you're out on your boat enjoying your leisure time, or if you live on the boat and you need the engine and things to keep your main systems running. So we said before, get those regular services done, get that done. One of the things that we were asked as well in the questions, I think, was, is there particularly a engine manufacturer that's better than any others? The short answer is there's loads of really reputable ones out there, isn't there?
Yeah, there's loads of them. And, you know,
if any of them want to sponsor us, we can. We'll make sure we recommend them.
We'll have the money. But I mean, if it's the main one that we deal with are Beta and Barris.
Yeah, so Beta is probably one of the most ones we see. It's the most common engines we see in the Marina and our moorings, isn't it? And in new boats as well. They are a reliable workhorse based on a Kubota. I think most of them. They're just reliable, and they're really, for our engineers, they're really nice to work on, easy to work on. So you can't go far wrong really with a Beta. No. And then with the Barrashire, we've got a relationship with them more of late. Put them into the CRT boats, and they've been really good for that.
Yeah.
And again, another robust engine based on, I think theirs are mainly based on John Deere, the Barrashire engines.
Yeah, but no, they're a good unit basically. Servicing cost wise, because people always ask about costs going forward, £200 to £300 will get you a good service on you
with the proper filters, probably.
with the proper stuff.
Yeah,
a proper branded oil and the proper original part filters.
As long as you don't do it.
As long as I definitely don't do it, it won't work after.
They see you walking down in a pair of overalls.
Yeah, they're going to scream.
Yeah, I certainly would. So the other thing we were going to mention at this point as well, because I've just looked at our notes again, was diesel bug, which is a thing people might have heard about but not necessarily know what it is.
Yeah.
So diesel bug is basically where you get water in your tank, either through condensation or a leak somewhere, and then that water allows like fungus type organisms to grow in a tank, which makes your diesel sort of sludgy.
Yeah, and it'll contaminate. If left to develop, it'll contaminate from the tank to the end of the fuel system, if you like, and it will contaminate every bit all the way through.
And that's why regular servicing will help identify that. They'll see that in a pre-filter or the fuel filter on the engine, won't they? So that's why that is important as well, to see if that's happening.
Yeah, and it's curable, like everything.
It's not it's not. Yeah, there's worse things to happen, but equally you don't want it.
No, and we've had it a lot of times where people have come in, and there's a couple of ways that we've sort of tackled it, if you like. Some people want the fuel cleaned through like a filtration system.
Yeah.
And sometimes, if you've got the boat in front of you, we'll basically just remove all the fuel out of it, completely dry it out, clean all the system, put new inline filters through it and everything. Sometimes we make, because it's quite difficult, if you can imagine you've got your fuel filler, you can barely just put the nozzle of the diesel through it. So we'll actually make a big inspection hatch to go over it. So it's like a lockable lid as well. So it's like a deterrent for people people wanting to steal diesel. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's something they've got to kind of hack off. So they're like bespoke fabricated. We've done a lot of them over the last couple of years that I know of. But then you've got a lid where you can actually take it off when you've opened the hatch. You can't just take it off by looking at it. You've got to take the hatch off. But then you've got a big access hole. You can get into the tank. So if you get anything again, you've got a good chance you can after it yourself. You know what's happened. You just got to obviously get rid of anything contaminated responsibly. You know, you can't just throw it on the ground. But I
No.
mean, that's bad. But I mean, you've got an inspection act there, so you can go at it yourself and clean it all out.
Yeah, I think we found you can filter it. That does work. It all depends on how severe it is. I think you can filter it up to a certain degree. If it's a really bad one, you better just say, you know what, I'm going to have to get rid of this fuel and clean it out and start again.
Yeah.
One of the things people often forget about, though, or don't think about, is it's not always just condensation. It can be that like your fuel filler is leaking, or quite often you've got the stock tube through. So where the tiller arm goes through the tank, that normally goes through the diesel tank.
Yeah, that perforates.
That can potentially be a leak in there. So before you don't want to end up with the same problem again in 6 months and 12 months time. So just make sure that it's also been tested, that it's not leaking anywhere, that's been letting that water in, because we've seen that, haven't we, where people have a problem again if they've not identified where maybe that water's coming from.
Yeah, you definitely once it's happened to you once, you don't want it again, and it'll if there's a sort of perforation in your boat and water's getting in, whether it be rainwater or canal water, it will come back pretty quick. So you'll feel like you've just spent a chunk of money fixing it, and then you're into a chunk of money again. So if this does happen to you anywhere, just make sure that the job is done absolutely perfectly, because you'll be back into the same problem in no time at all.
The next thing we're going to talk about really is some questions we had on YouTube and Spotify, but also when you're talking to a lot of people that were thinking about buying boats last weekend at our brokerage event, you had a lot of questions from them as well. I think one of them was about solar panels. Yeah,
they were looking for a boat to live on, and they were sort of saying, is solar any good? Does it, was it a gimmick? Is it a gimmick? And it does work. When you're out on the canal, I mean, the one thing that you get two types of sort of solar panels mainstream. You get the ones on the tilting brackets,
and
you get the ones that are stuck to the roof.
The
ones that are stuck to the roof look really smart. But I know there's a lot of people that would sooner have the ones on the brackets. So if they moor up somewhere and they're going to be somewhere for say a week or 2 weeks or whatever, and the sun kind of goes that way over the top of the boat, they can tilt this panel to capture all the sun. It's getting the most sort of energy out of the sun.
The other thing as well to think about is they both work. There's a big thing about the efficiency of them as well. So the ones that are stuck to the roof can't dissipate their heat. So that can affect the efficiency of the panel, whereas the ones that are up on the brackets that you can tilt, they've got a bit more air around them, and they're a bit more, they can be a bit more efficient, and also probably have a bit of a life expectancy that's a bit longer as a result. But I think one of the main things we would say about solar panels, again, over the years that I've been here and we've been fitting solar panels, is they've now got the same size panel will put out more power than it used to. So the biggish panels that we're fitting are about 400 watts, aren't they? And you get 3 or 4 of them on a 57-foot boat. You've got to try and avoid, obviously there's certain things you've got to avoid.
The sort of roof furniture, the mushrooms, the
roof furniture,
skylights these days.
So you've got to try and avoid them, but generally speaking, you get 3 or 4 of them on your roof. So you're getting more power out of a panel that's also more reasonable to buy because they're more popular, so the prices come down. So actually, it's not as expensive as people think.
No.
And you get more power out of them. So in short, the answer is they are nowadays a very good option to put on.
Absolutely.
And it keeps topping your battery up. You start a battery going. And hopefully that means when you come to your boat and turn that key, you'll be able to fire up.
I mean, that was especially to sort of new to the water boaters. They were sort of, because everybody's seen them on houses and stuff. So that was one of the questions. And also another sort of question really was storage inside. A lot of boaters are sort of little wannabe boaters, if you like, selling the house, lived there 20 years. You can imagine the stuff they've got. And I don't know if I'll fit it all in. And the answer is no, you won't fit it all in. You're going to have to make choices of what you take with you. But with boats, even the older boats, there's clever ways of storage. There's little units you can buy. You'd be surprised what you really need to live on a boat isn't a great lot.
If nothing else, it'll make you just thin out what is essential and what isn't essential. You're not going to have as much room as what you've got in a house.
No.
But I think depending on where you moor or whether you're constantly cruising and all the options that are available, for instance, we're putting storage units in now, aren't we? So if you've got larger items that you can't store in your boat, but you want to have to hand, then a lot of places do those kind of options as well.
Yeah, and it's also like if there is stuff that you sort of keep on your boat, for argument's sake, a lot of people have sort of like, you know, they have winter curtains, winter clothes, and all that. In the summer, if you don't want them on your boat, and you can put them in a storage shed. It's not really expensive. It's not, it's your own. It's dry and it's secure. It's just you've always got that option. I mean, not everybody everywhere, can offer you that, but where you can take use of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, when you talk about that, it made me think of another question we get often quite a lot, which is about toilets.
Oh yeah,
you're never that far away from a conversation about toilets when it comes to canal boats, it seems.
No.
But if you go, there's two main options for toilets: a cassette type toilet, which you see in sort of caravans, and the big manufacturers. Thetford is the one that comes to mind.
Yeah.
And then you've got like a pump out macerator toilet that will have a holding tank in the boat.
Yeah.
Quite often though, that takes up a lot of your storage space, so that's something to consider, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the capacity is. I don't know, 150 litres, 200 litres, probably some of these tanks. So if you can imagine, and they're normally under your bed. So you've got everything you don't want to think about or ever remember, literally under your bed.
Yeah.
And it may last you.
But it's fine. It works. It
does work. Yeah,
it does work.
I mean, it's one of.
It's not particularly a nice thing to think about, but
no, the restrictions with that is. Yeah, it does. I mean, and also when
it's a big storage area normally under the bed.
It's a massive storage area.
It's probably the biggest.
Yeah, which you can fill definitely if you're moving from a house onto a boat. You have definitely got something else you can fill with that storage.
Probably all your shoes.
All my shoes, yeah, 3 pairs. But with the pump out toilets, they are a great big lug of a thing that you've restricted on where you can get it pumped out as well. You've got to go to a marina as a rule.
There's a cost associated with that as well, which can vary a lot from 15, 20 quid to 40 quid.
Yeah, depends where you are.
But you don't have to empty it as often.
No.
And you haven't, because the cassettes are quite small, aren't they?
Yeah. I mean, the rules, people, I mean, I remember cassettes to me, I've got to power on, right? I did
have a cassette once, you know.
Did you?
The first ever, I think it was an Eminem album on a cassette, so, you know.
Wow. I got Now 6 on a cassette and I've still got it. Anyway, but a cassette is like literally on a boat anyway, is like a posh plastic bucket with a lid on it, and you slide it in and out the back of the toilet system.
International salesman for Thetford here.
Yes, toilets absolutely don't do anything for me. We do have a specialist on site though, don't we? Alex, who was the boat
services manager, remembered.
He loves the toilet.
He does, yeah.
The more blocked, the better.
Oh, send all toilet inquiries to Alex.
Yeah, alex.s@aqueductmarina.co.uk. If you've got a toilet problem.
There's two options. Just when you mentioned about storage, it made me think about the fact that, a holding tank type toilet takes up a lot of room. There is other options for toilets, such as composting ones and different things, but you've got to think about where you're going to get rid of that waste as well, because it's, there's not many people going to want to take that off you.
No.
So
not even Alex.
Not even Alex, no. You can try and send him an email, but I don't think he'd be accepting those ones. No. So on that lovely subject, it's probably the end of this podcast, I think.
Yeah.
I'm saying that because I've got to the bottom of this sheet and it says wrap up and teaser.
Yeah. So on that narrowboat shell,
our new nicknames, wrap up and teaser.
It is time to end.
Yeah. So thank you very much for watching.
Yeah.
We hope you enjoyed episode 3 and found it informative.
Yeah.
We're off now to plan episode 4.
Yeah.
And when we know what it is, we'll tell you.
We'll let you know what it is.
And in the meantime, if you want to put any comments in the comments section on Spotify or YouTube, wherever you're watching this or listening to it, we'll quite happily answer your questions as best we can.
Yeah. Oh, well, I'll also just say, honestly, because I'm 49 years old.
I mean, you look it.
I know.
I mean, sorry.
Especially on this high fidelity camera, whatever it's called.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know what it's called. Subscribe. Yeah. You'd have to pay anything to subscribe.
No.
I thought it straight away asked for money.
No, I've been getting 10 quid a month off you for
Have you? Because you can subscribe, but you don't pay. It's free.
Yeah.
But it just means you get the alerts and updates, I think.
It does, yes. If you subscribe on YouTube or Spotify, I think you can subscribe as well.
Yeah. It's the future, isn't it?
You'll get notification when
we know.
Produce another episode.
Yeah.
So, in the meantime, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you again soon.
Yeah, thank you very much.